Hi Capricorn, welcome to your 2024 year ahead reading using the tarot. I've been doing these readings on YouTube for a few years now, and I really think that they are a great spiritual tool to check in with throughout the year ahead, or you could even decide to make some notes at the start of this video. But what I've basically done here is pulled a card for each month of the year ahead. And I will intuitively interpret these as always, but I will use another deck to pull a second card for each month of the year to flesh out the interpretation, to see if there's any duplicating cards, which will provide extra validation for the messages that are coming in for you. I've set my intention that this reading is in highest and best for you only. Capricorn, if you are a returning visitor, welcome back. You may notice that I look a different shape and size this year of recording, and it's funny because I watched my sign, my Pisces reading for the YouTube Collective back recently, and I called this pregnancy to the month. It was just great. So that's why I perhaps recommend using this as a tool throughout the year ahead. But without further ado, let's get into your reading. Okay, Capricorn. So the first card for January 2024, what a powerful energy. The Death card is saying that it's really time to rid out the old and welcome in the new, and allow yourself to really become one with nature at the beginning of the year. Particularly if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, we see the beautiful and vivacious Queen of Rods or Queen of Wands springing into action in the month of March for you. This could be a message for that equinox that's occurring then, the spring equinox, which really does signify a much more naturalistic, which I'm sure you like, start to a new year. So if you're not feeling like you have the energy to initiate or sow seeds or even be out and about that much this January, take it easy. The Death card is going to represent a rather big transformation that occurs for you right at the beginning of the year, and it's probably setting the tone for something that will continue to change throughout the year for you, or at least the first quarter. And it could also be reflecting that there's been something building up towards a ending or a letting go or a phasing out, and by January it's really ready for that. Interesting, home living situation. The Fool card, really vibrant colors here with the yellow. The Fool card is the first card of the major arcana, signifying that brand new beginning, new territory, a new chapter emerging in your world. The Four of Wands, we see a home and living situation, but this can also be a corporation. It doesn't have to be a house. It could be a institution. It's a household name. It's something that is very much set now into the collective consciousness as a structure. So for some of you, there is going to be ending old jobs to take on new, ending complete career paths to venture somewhere else, ending where you're currently residing to begin a chapter in a new home, new state, new province or country. So big changes underway in the month of January. The advice here is to just go with the flow. Just surrender, because if I'm going to bring back that nature element, which I know an earth sign like you will just love. If, like me, you're on the Northern Hemisphere and you're looking outside and seeing a lot of kind of death, decay, but close to the regeneration that comes for you very soon in March, April, May, you might then start to just be kind of feeling like you're aligning with nature and allowing a lot to sort of phase out for you at the beginning of the year. Endings and beginnings, all of the same frequency really, though they're almost tied together as one. Let's see what other message is coming through with the Death card energy for you. Very interesting. We have the Hanged Man right here. This fellow also occurs in the month of November. So to me, Capricorn, this speaks to foundational core beliefs of yours. In the essence of the Hanged Man, we're seeing something about perspective, and there's something about flexibility with perspective that comes up with the Hanged Man. So we're already seeing a duplicate card. So we're invited to have flexibility in January. The Death card and the Hanged Man, there is this both major arcana energy, so January could be quite an important pivotal month for you. For some of you, you're going to feel like you're held back. For some of you, you're going to feel like you're at a standstill, or that there's some sort of a limbo or plateau, that you're kind of in a waiting room energy. And the 10 of Wands in reverse, which comes through in February, is kind of saying like, no man is an island, Capricorn. This is a card to suggest that in February you need to delegate. This is facing burnout. This is overload. This is taking on a little bit more than you can chew. It could just be a time where you have to offer a lot of support to others, or you might have to sort of bear a sort of heavier load in February. Now we will get to that, but the importance of January really can't be understated at this point now. Ask yourself, Capricorn, what are your core foundational beliefs? Because it seems to me like you're going to have those an opportunity to prove those beliefs to be foundational for you. For example, a foundational belief of mine is everything always works out okay. Now, does it work out okay 100% of the time? Maybe not necessarily, but because that's a core foundational belief of mine, I really have that outlook instilled in me, and it tends to. Other things could be, I'm always in the right place at the right time. What's for me won't pass me. What's meant to be will come my way. Other foundational core beliefs could be the world is a scary place. That's not safe for me here. I don't belong. So figure out where you want to set those core beliefs of yours right at the beginning of the year. And that's going to be really important. So let's have a look at February, because after a huge transformation, the Hanged Man can suggest a bit of a standstill or a pause or a kind of a wait until the next breakthrough happens. So for some of you, that will mean that January is one of the more intense months of the year, which represents an overall tone shift in your trajectory. We did see the Fool card beautifully spring out of the deck with the 4 of Wands though, which is a really celebratory, fresh and optimistic energy. So for a lot of you, it's going to be this beautiful out with the old, clearing the way for new, exciting and vibrant energy to come through. Let's look at the 10 of Wands in reverse for February. The Knight of Swords, and how interesting, this fellow comes up in December. So February and January are completely linked to the end of the year too. This could suggest that a cycle that begins or is well underway for you in January, right off the bat. It could have began in the months leading up to January, of course. It could just begin at the moment, you enter the new year. Or you could just feel this tempo building quite quickly with the Knight of Swords at that. And that might indicate that you're coming really full circle towards the end of the year, where the issues, the undertaking, the hard work, the effort, the cycles that emerge at the beginning of the year are kind of wrapping up and or at least back in focus again by the end of the year. But let's get there. Knight of Swords, super busy, but sometimes with both of these cards together like that, we could be seeing a lot of agitation. Just be a little wary in the second month of the year, I should say, that you could be kind of mentally drained because of how fast things are moving, physically as well. Capricorn, the 10 of Wands in reverse can represent overload of the physical body and the stress and tension that is paired with it. With the Knight of Swords, everything's happening very quickly. There's a sense of urgency, there's a sense of great pressure as well, which is also linked to some sort of an adrenaline invoking, necessary though direction you're going, and it's high stakes, it's high tempo, it's requiring a lot of your focus, energy, and being quite quick on your feet and thinking very quickly. Problem solving, delegation, like I said, Capricorn, like I said again, no man is an island. Make sure that you're reaching out for help with the direction that you need to go in, and don't feel like you must do all this on your own. I understand that perhaps bottom of the deck, Six of Cups, you're supporting family, loved ones, you're supporting those who care for you and you care about. And it's not just you may say, well, I have other people to think about. I have duty, I have responsibility. That is good, and do your thing. But at the same time, there are people that kind of love you here, and we can see some sort of a sharing situation. Let me take some of that for you. Let me move that box for you. Let me do this, that, and the other. But things are moving very quickly, very busy, and very action-packed in the month of February. And it looks like it's going to be a physically and mentally demanding month for you. Alas, things are moving in a different direction in the month of March. We have this amazing Queen of Rods. So the eclipse in the month of March seems to be very inspiring for you, actually. There is a solar eclipse in the month of March, 25th of March. There is also like around the 19th, 20th, that spring equinox energy. So this is kind of like a rush of life into your world where you feel very replenished and confident and sexy and gorgeous. And this Queen of Wands is very much like, now I'm on top of my shit. Now I can manage anything. Oh, now you're calling people and saying, do you need a help? Like, I've cleared some space, I've cleared some baggage. Now I'm free, and you're in demand in March. So you are kind of like being sought after in March, and also, you're very available. And I don't mean available like you've nothing else to do, but mentally, physically, and spiritually, just energetics overall. You're coming through like shining, and you just feel like kind of creatively inspired and engaged in life. The Queen of Wands, we also have a Queen of Swords in May. So the Queen energy is internal, but both the fire and air of these particular queens actually make them a little bit more balanced, and they can shine a lot out and kind of extend a lot as well. So this eclipse season looks really good for you between March and April, where kind of new seeds are being sown, and creative flow, richness, abundance is sort of surrounding the energy. The Three of Swords. Okay, well, the queens are three as well. So this is the thing about the Three of Swords that I really enjoy, especially with a queen. Okay, sometimes information comes to light, sometimes there is a certain revelation, or there is a powerful truth bomb, right? And sometimes at the start it can feel a little hard to digest, or to kind of let it sink in, or sometimes it's just uncomfortable and you don't really want to hear it, and maybe it's not even your business to hear. But the Three of Swords actually is quite refreshing at the same time, because when you know this, the Queen of Wands is like, March is a very empowered month for you, where you're really kind of like Midas touching it, you're in demand, you're wanted, and you're very desired, and in all aspects of your life, and you feel very much like a flower that's very much blooming with this spring equinox. The Three of Swords, however, just might be a healing that has to happen around the heart space, but you feel empowered to do so. And in fact, once those swords are pulled out, yes, there might be some tears in March, in a cathartic, quite cleansing way though. I feel like once those daggers are pulled out, yeah, it might be painful, but the healing that happens and the kind of quick, basically that healing can't happen until those are yanked out. Okay, this King of Cups has been following us at the bottom of the deck a little while now, speaking to a romantic relationship, soulmate relationship that is not yet to be the sole focus of your year, but is still very much present with you. I like the King of Cups, the way it's following us. It makes me think of a strong and secure partnership. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, but there is somebody there with you. So far they haven't faltered yet, and they're not the focus either, in a sense, which is good, because it's not them demanding or it's not them with the kind of Three of Swords energy perhaps. So now we're looking to April, and this is a month of new experience for you. So that's that Fool card energy we saw flying out at the beginning of the reading. The Page of Pentacles tells me that there's an interest coming alive for you in April, something that you're keen to sort of sink your teeth into and get to know a little bit more about. Writing comes up, research, studying, sharing wisdom. Here's our fantastic, fabulous Queen of Rods at the bottom of the deck that's coming through as well. So that would tell me that, like I kind of thought that March and April are a couple of months here for you. The Aries eclipse with this Queen of Rods energy, I guess we should talk about that. And the Three of Pentacles, a nice Capricorn grounded energy coming through here as well with it. Beautiful earthy fire energy coming through between March and April. Like I said, there is a kind of there's not a kind of, there is an eclipse season portal in March and April. Now, what I've noticed for the people, like the collective groups I've read for so far, for the majority, there might be like 1 out of the 6 or 2 that's not aligning with this, but the eclipses that are coming up September and October versus the March-April eclipses, it seems to be like the first series of eclipses are like a doddle, or they're just more enjoyable, or they're more kind of enriching and fulfilling and rewarding, whereas the second series of eclipses for the most part seem to be a little bit more meaty, or something that goes along with them that kind of is a new challenge to overcome that we haven't really seen yet before. The other thing with this is, with this double Queen of Rods energy, the North Node of our collective moving forward towards purpose and destiny and into kind of like very rich, golden, fertile soil that we haven't fully tapped into, that creative potential with the North Node in Aries. So we're all invited to step into a greater light side of Aries at this time in our life, in the as it happens, as human consciousness is evolving, we're all part of that same beating drum, and we're all called collectively, everyone here on the earth realm, to step into Aries energy. Capricorn, look to your own birth chart, have a look at where Aries is. That's going to give you a little bit more nuance as to where this can be invited in your life. But for the collective, the eclipse that's happening on the 8th of April, it's happening beside Chiron, which is a dwarf planet, or is it an asteroid? Symbolically, it is the wounded healer. And because Aries is such a powerful and warrior-like and kind of like fights for the right causes, advocates for the underdog, pioneers, leads the way, never lets fear grip the steering wheel, wouldn't necessarily have much of a victim complex, are Aries. So there is a collective victim complex running in the whole timeline, everyone's timeline right now. We can't get away from it, you know, and that's thanks to Neptune in Pisces, you know, I get it, but that transit is also coming to its pinnacle point in the year of 2024. Alongside the eclipse, which happens conjunct Chiron, we're really ready to move on from a victim mindset and cultivate a greater kind of internal locus of control, rather than blaming external circumstances for or external events for the circumstances of our life, so to speak. So that's something that you could find really empowering. The Page of Pentacles and the Three of Pentacles, you actually might start to be able to speak on something that really brings a group of people together. I feel like you are leading group projects or teamwork or sort of collaborative efforts in the month of April. This could come up in your circle of friends. This could come up in the groups and hobbies and associations you're a part of. You could be kind of speaking up a little bit more and becoming more visible through March and April around a cause or around an idea. But basically, the words you speak and the interests that you have and the new experiences that you're desiring to have overall serve a group purpose or a community or a tribal sort of a sense that you're kind of bringing people together, or you're all kind of like coming together with the same ideas and inspiration. Anyway, a lot of productive, efficient and meaningful work is undertaken by you in April. Some of you are going to be interested in studying or teaching courses, instructions and manuals, things like that, putting that kind of content together. Some of you will be considering like enrolling in classes or just putting together like something for a group to read or digest or look into a little bit more, but it's very work focused. And actually the Three of Pentacles brings together people that are very skillful in their own right, so you're not going to be working with a bunch of novices only, but there is a novice energy with the Page of Pentacles. You might even find yourself as the novice this time, Capricorn, and you're coming in with a skilled group of professionals or craftsmen or masters of their trade, and you're learning a lot and it's very enriching for you. Speaking of an internal locus of control, this is when we believe, and we're not going to again think 90% of the time or 99% of the time be in our sort of internal locus of control vibe, right? Sometimes we will feel victimized, sometimes we will feel that things are unfair, but as long as we don't dwell there for a long and unhealthy period of time, we should be good. The Queen of Swords, like I said, the queens are internal, but this queen is highly focused on the internal. So it really shows a lot of personal development when we can take accountability and remember that our beliefs, our viewpoint, the way we see things happening, that really is a lot of, that's really kind of mostly about what the circumstances of our life kind of are dictated by, I think. The Queen of Swords also asks you to draw your attention inwards and not to get too swept up in events that are happening in the external locus of control, especially events that are happening millions of miles away or hundreds of miles away or just beyond your scope of control, because you're going to be doing such a great job for this sort of collective vibration raising energy that's happening. Humanity has been plummeted through this sort of like rapid expansion of consciousness. There's more photonic light on the planet than ever before. There is, just by talking to people, don't you realize that I'm sure you know that people are having their own consciousness being expanded quite rapidly. The astrology also supports that. So there's lots of variables here that are bottlenecking at this inevitable and wonderful outcome for us. And the Queen of Swords sees it so clearly, and you see it all so clearly now in May. Let's see what you're seeing. Let's see where your focus is. Let's see where that truth is just hitting you, and you'll know what truth is when it resonates, you know, but it might be triggering. The Eight of Cups. So the Eight of Cups represents something that is outdated and presently inadequate for you. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you've seen the light and now you have to abandon this or give it all up and just throw that in the garbage, what you've been working on, or the relationship, or the dream. It's just that you've got a clearer vision on what really isn't adequate about that. Happily, or maybe with some resistance, I don't know, but I think for the most part quite happily ready to move on and let something be just left as it is. It doesn't need to be disposed of, destroyed, or eliminated. It just needs to be left there. This is known as the Lord of imperfect success, the Lord of abandoned success. And I don't think that it wasn't successful for you. I just think that it's fine how it is in May, and you don't even need to do any more about it. Continuing to focus on your own inner world. The other thing that could be coming up here is the Eight of Cups. It shows a symbol of an eclipse right here. And after the eclipses of March and April, you might really only be seeing the sense that that all made now. We end the first half of the year with Seven of Wands in the month of June. And this is about, Capricorn, what you believe in, your principles, coming back to that, like what are your core principles? At the moment, the Seven of Wands can represent some sort of a test of your mettle. So are you going to have to defend your position in June? Are you going to have to advocate for somebody else, stepping into that fearless warrior Aries archetype that we're all being called towards? The Eight of Swords. And interestingly, the Eight of Cups doesn't have to walk for too much longer on this path, searching for the next most fulfilling initiative after they've left something as it is. The Nine of Cups at the bottom of the deck tells me you find fulfillment elsewhere pretty soon. Now, this is something different altogether. This is something that could be linked, however, to January and February. This is something about you feeling boxed in, you feeling typecasted, you feeling like you're not really understood, and somebody might be unintentionally or intentionally leaving you hanging, or like leaving you alone with your thoughts. What I'm picking up on here is somebody is bothered by you, Capricorn, or you've gotten somebody's back up and they're kind of like, you know that you've maybe messed up here, but they are not willing to like forgive you right away, or they're not ready to talk about it. So you're kind of spiraling in your mind like, oh my God, what's going to happen here? Switch that around entirely. Somebody has really kind of like made you feel very defensive or kind of boxed in and cornered with no way to go, and you feel like really defending yourself, and you feel like actually the only option here is self-defense in terms of like, you know, getting defensive maybe. And the Eight of Swords, however, the other thing could be like, well, you're feeling like you're kind of trapped, you know, you're feeling like there's no way to solve this with them. That's frustrating because sometimes it's harder with these cards to find a win-win situation. I think the best piece of advice I can give is what I'm channeling from the very minute I saw this card was, what are your core foundational beliefs? And this is a moment in time where you're really going to have to follow those with integrity and check in. One could be, I always end up coming out on top. I always end up rising to any challenge that presents itself. Another could be, I'm always victim to this. They are always going to treat me in such a way, or I'll never be seen as anything more. You choose where you really want to invest your energy in at that point in June. Moving on to the second part of the year, the Page of Cups. A nice little surprise in store for you in July, something that delights your spirit and just kind of like invites you to step into a more playful and fun and silly, whimsical, enjoyable, happy-go-lucky and just sort of like leisurely time, I think. Creative maybe, you know, it's something to do with your kids that kind of makes you laugh, or you are getting more in touch with your inner child. Okay, and we have the Tower card coming through. A surprise indeed. For some of you, there is going to be a surprise around a big occasion, something quite momentous in your life, some sort of a surprise trip, some sort of a surprise getaway, something that is just a gift to you, and you're like, oh wow, this is amazing, you know. Surprises, the Tower brings sort of surprise events, but the Page of Cups makes this very whimsical in a sense. For others of you, the Page of Cups and the Tower card could suggest a very radical flash of insight creatively, where you are just getting this divine inspiration out of nowhere and you just have to kind of like channel it all. You want to set up an Instagram page for this, you want to set up a YouTube channel for that, or I don't know, you want to paint, you want to sing, you want to take a photo. This is something that just kind of like when the lightning strikes and when inspiration hits, you just gotta act on that and just kind of like sing it at the top of your lungs. This is a really kind of creatively inspired flash of insight and sudden energy that's coming through for you in the month of July. That's something that could be really exciting to look forward to. The Wheel of Fortune and the Eight of Wands at the bottom of the deck. Things happen very quickly sometimes. It can really just be overnight that your circumstances change, and this is always so exciting because these cards tell me that it might seem like it's random, but there's something actually quite meaningful and fated and synchronistic about what's going on under the surface in July. I do see trip and travel and random wins and things like that. But yeah, there could just be something that comes up unexpectedly, maybe around what your creations are, or like just kind of, yeah, you know, you might say to yourself, oh, the youth of today. I don't know, that just came to me. Anyway, the Temperance card. Yeah, okay, so something coming through here from August, September, October, November, actually, where there is something that under the surface is actually quite spiritually significant. The Temperance card, which is a major arcana card, sets the scene here with actually quite some nice calm energy that comes after the Tower. If the Tower has been a little bit more crisis orientating for you, or it feels destructive, or it feels chaotic for you in July, the welcoming energy of the Temperance card could really soothe that out in August for those of you who experience the Tower in another way. The Temperance card, of course, will be something that feels therapeutic, that feels comforting, that feels like a kind of benevolent presence and guide and support, and something of a very fine, high frequency, very pure, but it's setting up this kind of like overall backdrop of some sort of a spiritual cycle that's beginning. The Empress card at the bottom of the deck. For some of you who are planning to, or not planning, and that's where the surprise is, to expand in a kind of familial way, you might just be shocked, or you might hear shock news of a pregnancy. Somebody tells you, like, can you believe this person is having a kid, or something like that really breaks through for some in July. That just came to me. Now let's look at August and the Temperance card. So we're setting ourselves up in August for the sign of Capricorn for this kind of like trajectory of a spiritual breakthrough. And that could be happening very obviously to you on the surface, but of course the undercurrent, here we have Capricorn's energy, the Four of Pentacles. It could just be something that's building in the background too. Okay, you have great support with you in August, and in fact the project or teamwork or collaboration or ideas or experiences or study or research that went underway in April, for some of you that really is coming to a substantial, not like this massive growth spurt, not like a kind of like whoop, straight off the Richter. This is more like a nice stable plateau of a safety net or a sure thing potential. It is kind of like something that could be like still slowly and steadily building, but there's a very much in August, I hear this phrase, rest assured, and that's how you're feeling. You're like, that'll be taken care of. Somebody or something, even if it's out an external circumstance of a benevolent higher power, that could be your belief. You're like, well, I'm always kind of guarded. Is a guardian angel vibe coming through here for me as well, to say to you as well, Capricorn. But beyond that, or I mean, what's beyond that, but something other than that, a little bit more back down to earth. It's like you just have faith that this will be okay, or that this is going to work out well overall. I'm going to look at September and October together. I have the Nine of Swords and the Six of Swords. So the Nine of Swords in September represents a situation that is stressing you out and you're ready to be kind of like managing better. The Six of Swords in October represents you managing it better and moving on from a stressful situation. So this doesn't look like it's something with long-lasting ramifications by any means, Capricorn. All this looks like to me is that there's something meaningful about why and what is triggering you, what you need to learn, and how you need to kind of like just like have this practice you can just like get back down to earth with very quickly, or like regulate your nervous system really quickly. Yeah, the High Priestess and the Nine of Swords. The only thing I would say is with the Page of Swords at the bottom of the deck, whispers, loose lips, gossip, and you not really knowing what you're hearing is valid or not, or why it even concerns you. So that's annoying. But the High Priestess is always saying, like, revert to your central pillar. This High Priestess is between two pillars here. Come into your central pillar of integrity. You know what's true. You know what's real. You know what's truth, reality. They are objective, subjective. And you'll know what your own personal truth is. And this is kind of like, there could be people wanting you to get involved with things that are a little dicey and actually stress you out. If you feel like something is off in September, the High Priestess is telling me, like, you're not necessarily being paranoid here. You're kind of onto something and you have a very good feeling. You know when your nervous system is off. You know when you walk into a room and the energy is not kind of vibing very highly. You also know when you leave a table and people are there, if they're going to be holding you in high esteem still when your back is turned. And I'm not really going to try and scare you, like, and think that people are sabotaging or out to get you or anything like that. What I'm saying is your High Priestess energy will be alerting you. This is anxiety. This is intuition. So when you do have an anxiety about something, which is ruled by fear, or kind of is a fear-based reaction, right, of the brain and body, your High Priestess energy is inviting you into that central pillar of knowing, where you don't get swept up in anxiety and let that take the wheel. You in fact kind of are able to stay grounded, or just to stay in your truth and see things very clearly. It's all about a build-up of perspective anyway. Page of Swords. Information is going to come to you exactly when you need it. Another core belief could be, I'll always know what I need to know. The truth will always reveal itself. The truth will always come to light, okay? So that's kind of the energy of September. Bearing in mind there is an eclipse in the sign of Pisces on the 17th of September. Now Pisces at its shadow side can be quite illusionary, can be deceptive, because Neptune is the modern ruler there. So we're seeing nebulousness, we can see disorientation and a veil, right? So the High Priestess asks you to see beyond the veil of illusion in September. The Pisces eclipse is going to actually be, I think, very illuminating, and on a collective level we're going to see a lot of unveiling this year, of truth, of where we've been deceived. Neptune, Pisces, we're talking substances, drugs, we're talking the water. We're going to be figuring out a lot of what's been hidden or veiled or misinterpreted to us intentionally, I think. Now we move into the month of October. It's very linked to September, and it actually sees you peacefully moving on from a situation that might have been triggering for you, or you kind of, you know, in September, with that Pisces energy coming through in the collective for the first time in a long time, but it is North Node in Pisces, so the collective are moving towards, this is orienting us forward in a way that is what's meant for us to see things. Page of Pentacles coming through again. Yeah, okay, so that card came through as our card for April. Okay, so you're moving forward away from something that was kind of like deceptive possibly, and now you can see things in a lot more of a clear way, and the veil is lifted in a certain way. And you know what, you might think like that was just wild, like weird, wacky, bizarre, uncanny in September. The Page of Pentacles coming through now tells me that some of you, though, this is kind of random, but some of you are kind of like writing some sort of a mystery book, or you're doing something that's a little bit esoteric, or you're doing something that's just kind of weird and wonderful, and kind of like yeah, it's a little underground or taboo, or it's occultish, it's mystical, and that could be just like you immersing yourself in that kind of a theme or genre for September into October. And then you kind of get, it's like method acting. I feel like you're real swept up in that kind of, it could be a very like creatively inspired time for you, or even psychedelic kind of vibe I'm getting, honestly. The Page of Pentacles coming through here. Again, from April, we're seeing it now in October too. The Page of Pentacles is about now you ready to kind of share your experiences of this kind of strangeness overall that you encountered, that you heard about, that you read about, and you're actually it's fueling some desire for you to kind of open up this throat chakra. The blue energy of the page of, or pardon me, the High Priestess, the Six of Swords, and even the Hanged Man coming up, that blue chakra around the throat is really kind of like now opened up for you, where you feel like now I'm ready to talk about that, or I actually can't wait to talk about that. But you're having more experiences in the month of October, which lead to like enlightening conversations or enlightening breakthroughs. Like I said, this is a very spiritual time of your life, I think, Capricorn, in this part of the year, towards like the last quarter of the year. And just before it. So there is something that isn't kind of common for you that's happening. So like I saw, like the Hanged Man is here with the Knight of Swords, the Hanged Man is here with the Knight of Swords. Very interesting. So to me, that just the first thing I'm thinking of is like November and December are completely linked to what's happening in January and February. But let's pull 2 more cards to close out this reading. I love to use 2 decks. I mean, you just couldn't make it up. So the thing is, now I'm going to ask you, Capricorn, would be to subscribe to this channel, leave me a comment, let me know what you think, and I'd like to also thank you for sharing your energy with me by watching this video and giving me your time. Beautiful. Now we're talking this Ace of Cups coming through, completely different perspective, and the Magician. Oh yeah, that's what I like to see. Now the Seven of Wands is here at the bottom of the deck, and that is the card that came through in the month of June, where I thought you really have to stand your ground, or don't let anyone push you around or pigeonhole you, or kind of like underestimate you, and certainly don't underestimate yourself. It's also the test of your mettle around what are your core foundational beliefs. Where do they fall? Are they empowering or are they disempowering to you? Do they make the world seem like a place that conspires for you, with you, in your highest and best, or is the world, in your opinion, a scary place? So they are the foundational beliefs that are tested in June, and I think the choice is very obvious to you. The Hanged Man with the Ace of Cups in November. Okay, so anything that did happen in June or January, right at the start of this year, that felt intense, that felt very much like one chapter of your life coming to an end, another one is then just kind of coming through and beginning for you. Some of you feel like you're in a standstill, or you have had so much change, and then you're kind of just like kind of on a plateau, like I said. By November, the fullness and the beauty and the divinity even, and the kind of breakthrough emotionally comes through, and the reward emotionally. Some of you are really going to have a very beautiful emotional or creative or inspired release with the Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups is an aligned overflow of feelings and love. Now the Magician card, to wrap up the end of the year, it's about taking some sort of an inspired and very dynamic action towards a goal. It's linked to February because we see the Knight of Swords coming up again, and I know that things seem to be like very over the top in terms of like workload in February. Then that would just suggest to me now that things are so much more manageable by the end of the year, but you might still be working on that same goal that began in February, or was really like a big part of your workload in February. Well, Capricorn, thank you so much for watching this year ahead reading, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.